Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going through the Adelaide Crows versus Geelong Cats game to start gather round on the Thursday night, of which Geelong were able to run over the top of Adelaide. Adelaide had a 30-point lead with about 5 minutes to go in the second quarter, and Geelong were able to kick 3 killer late goals in the second quarter, which got it back to a 2-goal game at halftime. It was, I think, 72-60 at halftime or something along those lines. And then they kicked an early goal in the third quarter as well, got it back to 6 points. And from then, Adelaide really just didn't have much left in them, to be honest with you. And yeah, it really just showed with the likes of Geelong just being able to keep it within a 2-goal game the whole second half realistically, and then just go in that last quarter and really kick on and kick away from Adelaide. And yeah, they ended up winning by 19 points, which was a little bit of a surprise, but maybe a comeback to earth for Adelaide as their ball use was really, really poor. They had quite a lot of clangers from their players and really just showed, to me at least, that it's going to be hard for them to really defend well. And that's the big problem with them at the moment, given, yeah, they just had a really, really torrid time. But anyway, let's just jump into the video. So long-winded intro, and Isaac Rankin, 107.91. He was pretty good throughout the day, or night, I should say. 2 goals for him as well really enabled him to get up to a decent score and really hold that DT to SuperCoach ratio for him. So he was really good. Hinge was horrific. So for him to have an even SuperCoach to, fantasy to SuperCoach ratio is really, really surprising, I would say. He was horrific by foot. I'm surprised he only had 5 clangers. Yeah, that was really, really surprising for me to see that he's actually there. But maybe he was so good in the first half, and then the second half he just forgot how to play footy because his kicking was so poor in the second half. I think the 5 clangers all came from the kicks that he had. He even had the deliberate out of bounds as well. That was the double clanger as well. Jordan Dawson had 8 clangers, 38%, 3 behinds, 2 free kicks against. So the 60 is warranted for the game that he had, but it's such a big potential. He's such a big potential that, and I was saying this with other people, is that you think about this 92 that he scored in DT. If he was anything up or around that league average of about 60-65% ball use, and he kicked and slotted 1 or 2 of those goals, that 60 suddenly turns into probably, I would say, 110 or so. So it just shows the big shift with Dawson when he absolutely butchers it by foot. So yeah, the 8 clangers did not help, as well as only 7 contested possessions, 2 clearances. Yeah, really surprising game from him, because I thought I almost had big money on him going absolutely big against this Geelong outfit. But basically his 2 clearances, I think, were clangers as well. He dropped, I think, 2 marks as well, which were clangers that could be easily. And this is the same thing we said about Jason Horne-Francis as well last week, before he went absolutely huge the week after, is that he has a game like this where they just do not stick with him. He has so many clangers, etc. And then the week after he comes out and just flies out of the gate. So will be interesting to see how Jordan Dawson responds next week. I don't know who he has, but this was supposed to be an easy matchup, and he just fluffed it with his ball use. It wasn't that he was doing a little bit of tag work, but he wasn't doing much tagging on Holmes at all. And he wasn't getting tagged at all. So yeah, I'm just surprised that he put up this performance, but he does have GWS next week. He won't get Bedford. Bedford will go to Rankin. So yeah, he should be able to do pretty well next week, although he might be put on Tom Green. But yeah, he should do better next week. Rory Laird had an actually all right game, 89-99 split. Mark Keane had a pretty good game as well, 24 touches, 9 marks. Wayne Miller, I thought, was actually one of Adelaide's best, to be honest with you. 22 touches, 5 marks, 3 tackles at 86% is pretty good. Ben Keys had a really good first quarter and then did nothing for the rest of the game. James Peatling, 76-85, he did all right. And then you get Matt Crouch, who had 11 clearances, 14 contested possessions, but I thought he was one of Adelaide's worst, even though the stats don't really show it. It's just he just doesn't contribute to their free-flowing nature, and he really slows it down, and it's really just a negative for them in the midfield. I know that he gets a lot of clearances, etc., gets the hard ball, but you can easily get that out of Dawson. And so I just have a feeling that Matt Crouch in there rather than a Soligo or someone like that, because Matt Crouch coming back in has just absolutely deaded Soligo's game. As Soligo only had 15 touches and they all went to Matt Crouch, whereas Soligo had 100 more meters gained from half the touches. So he almost had double the meters gained of Matt Crouch off half the touches, which is like 4 times the meters gained. And he still got 9. He was still on track to have more contest possessions and near enough the amount of clearances as Matt Crouch, but he gets a lot more meters gained per disposal. He's getting about 20 meters gained, whereas Matt Crouch is around 6 meters gained per disposal. So just shows you the difference there. Matt Crouch maybe 7 there. Yeah, probably closer to 7. So yeah, just shows you the difference between those two and how those type of midfielders can really change and impact the team differently. So that's why I've always said that Matt Crouch doesn't really have a place in the side. When you've got Dawson, you've got Rankin. You saw what Rankin did last week as well. Obviously, he was more forward this week. But if he's more in the midfield, I'd much rather a Rankin in there over a Matt Crouch. And he just really, with the game style of the Crows, you really want those explosive players rather than the guys that are just sort of sitting there, just going to give a handball, because multiple times Matt Crouch would take a mark and then he'd just wait and not actually give it off quickly, and then that would just slow it down, and then he'd kick it long into a turnover. So that was why Matt Crouch was really, really just poor, I felt like. Fogarty, Nank, Thilthorpe came back in the second half and somehow outscored Dawson, which was funny because it was on, I think, 15 at halftime. That's for SuperCoach purposes, he outscored him. That shows it is what it is, but he just didn't get the ball. It all went to Fogarty more so. And it was, especially in the second half, it was really poor entries, I felt like, for Adelaide. A lot of just, let's kick it from 85 meters out and bomb it in 30 out, and there'd be a pack of 10 players. And no wonder there wasn't a mark to Thilthorpe or anything. He really needs those clean entries that, you darted in from 70 out and you can hit him up 30 out, and that's on the lead. And that's really where he seems to thrive a lot more than these. No one's really going to do well in a 10-person pack. Walker had a really good start, 2 goals, 2 for the game. Cumming as well, 61-86. Riley O'Brien, that was pathetic, but the thing is they just don't have a ruckman on their list that they can really use that well. If you go and look at McAndrew's stats, I know that he probably did all right in the Sandford the last couple of weeks with ball use, but if you actually look at his Sydney Swan stats, the regularity is that he is a really poor ball user anyway, so you're going to probably get that from Adelaide either way this year. Is a good hit-out ruckman that can't really do much around the ground is what's usually the case with O'Brien and also McAndrew. Soligo had a really quiet game. This is why you don't go for these guys that aren't top of the line if you didn't start him. And then that's about it. Sid Draper, another, just can't get involved in the game, Sid Draper. And I want to see the CBA statistics just to show you why I feel like Crouch is a drain on. Look at this stats here. So yeah, Dawson 81%, Crouch 62%. And then you had, he's taking time away from Peatling, and then also Draper's getting no CBAs. Even Zach Taylor got more CBAs than Draper, which is a real surprise there. And you just saw that I thought they had a much better game against Gold Coast when you have no Matt Crouch. And so yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that develops over the year, because Crouch was him and Laird were one of the reasons why their midfield was so poor last year. And we'll see how that developed, as their midfield also got crunched. I swear it got absolutely smoked in the contest. If we go to actually .com.au, AFL.com.au, and we go to team stats and we go to their hitouts, 50 hitouts to 29, yet the clearances were won by the Cats, and the centre clearances 15-15, stoppage clearances 25-22. And yeah, they just were a lot more dominant. If we go to Wheelo, I don't know if it will have it out of the game match stats already, but let's just see if it does. 2025 round 5. Let's just look at the match stats here, and we go out of stoppages, 44 for Geelong to 26. That is damning. So yeah, it is very damning that Stoppages 44-26, and centre bounce 5-2. That's just really, really, really poor for one of the top scoring sides to be thumped in that area. If we look at the Gold Coast versus Adelaide last week, you'll see, I don't know if the same thing occurs, but if you actually look at it, they're a lot closer. Look at that, a lot closer on the stoppages without Matt Crouch. If we look at the round 3 game, you'll see, whereas the Adelaide-North Melbourne game, they thumped North Melbourne in this game. They won the clearances as well, and the stoppages were awfully even. But then again, centre bounce, North Melbourne won 4-2. So they've won the 2 games that Matt Crouch is in that I've seen so far. They've pretty much been smoked in centre bounce goals, which just shows the explosiveness out of the centre. If we go to Essendon as well, let's look at them. We'll go to here. Stoppages 1, centre bounces still lost as well. So, I mean, 6 shots to 3 from centre bounces. But they smacked them in the turnover game. That's a smacking. And then in round 2 as well. Round 1. Let's go to Adelaide here as well. Where are they? They are here against St Kilda. They won the clearances, and the stoppages was pretty close. So it's shown that their midfield is always pretty much the only time that they've actually won, I think, the centre bounces, as we said, was the first game against St Kilda, who have an awfully slow midfield anyway of McRae and Steele. But yeah, just shows to me, I think, that this Adelaide side, their midfield is the worry at the moment, and that midfield is giving up pretty quick scores, and that's the worry for them, is they do dominate the teams on turnovers every single week, but it's their midfield game that's really, really poor at the moment, and they're winning clearances or quantity of clearances. They're winning, whereas the hitouts, just in this game alone, I don't know if it has it here, but oh yeah, here we go. Hitouts 53-36, yet losing the stoppage and just winning the centre bounce game. You know, this is a real worry for them, that this midfield is not necessarily working at the moment. They won, did they win the hitouts this week? Against Essendon, they slightly lost the hitouts, but won the stoppages, but lost the centre bounce. Then in round 3, when they played, who do they play in round 3? Where is it? North Melbourne. I'm pretty sure they won the hitouts. Won the hitouts by 9, won the clearances by 3, but and won the stoppages, but got smoked in centre bounce. So they're winning most of the time. They're winning the hitouts. They're drawing just even on clearances, but then they lose the centre bounce, and some of the time the stoppages, or just draw even. They hitouts they lost, the clearances they won, but the stoppages was fine, and the centre bounce was fine last week. So just an interesting sort of watch there with that. Then we go over to the likes. Adelaide doesn't really need to be talked about anymore after that. Then we go over to the likes of Geelong. Max Holmes was absolutely outstanding, 133, 147. He just, other than him going off to sort of get his abductor sort of checked out a little bit and rubbed down a little bit, he was outstanding and pretty much scored whenever he was on the field. I don't think he had a really slow part of the game. I think he was scoring 40 points, pretty much 35 points a quarter in the game. So he was outstanding throughout the whole game. And yeah, it was definitely one of Geelong's best. I thought Atkins had a much better game than what his sort of stats show. 72-91 split as well, but 23 touches and 9 clearances. And a lot of his clearances were damaging. They were the ones that were going straight through and scoring. I know that Holmes had his goal from the centre clearance, but also Atkins was one of the ones that was the other one that was creating goals out of his clearances. You've got for Holmes here 32, 26, 31 and 44-point quarters. So the 44-point last was the huge one. It got him another 30-odd SuperCoach points, as well as he was on about 80, or he was on an 88 or so. It would be 89 and about a 115 split at three-quarter time. Bailey Smith, 102, 126. He was outstanding. 35, 1-1. Shows that he doesn't need the non-disposal work to still get a really good score. A 126 in SuperCoach is outstanding. A 102 in Fantasy is still really good for a game that you do nothing off the ball. Paddy Dangerfield was damaging, and he was probably the match winner in the sense he was the differentiator in the last quarter. So he'll probably get votes for it, which is probably deserved over Atkins because of he was huge in the last quarter. But I thought Atkins kept them in the game in the first 3 quarters with his clearance work. That was outstanding. Ollie Dempsey kicked a couple goals, but outside of that, didn't really see him do much. Jeremy Cameron kicked 4 goals, and he was very impactful late on in the game. Bose kicked a goal, 74-83. Zach Guthrie as well, 73-95. Just shows to me that he was always going to drop down when the marks dropped down. Atkins, we talked about. O'Connor, 70-74. Lawson Humphreys is just going to be this type of guy. It feels like this is going to average 80 or so for his career, unless he gets a massive increase in role, especially without Tom Stewart there. Reece Stanley, Brad Myers, Graham Myers. They're pretty much the same person. Sean Manor, Sam De Koning coming down to earth with a 56-57. And then you also had Connor O'Sullivan, 51-42, and Mitch Nevitt, 48-50. All 3 of those guys highly owned still and put up a combined in fantasy of 107, 155, and then in SuperCoach they put up a combined 149. So not really the output that you want, especially if those traded into Connor O'Sullivan. This is why you don't trade into guys that are above their first price rise in SuperCoach, because it just can come tumbling down. If we go to this, and I'm pretty sure I even said this in the SuperCoach trade targets video, that this could happen very, very likely with O'Sullivan. But let's just go with O'Sullivan here and just sort of show you this. There we go. And we say, Connor O'Sullivan scores a 42, 32k cash gen, 25k next week. But if he scores, say, a 60 this week, and then another another sort of 60 this week here, you see he's already going to start to drop down in price, and by the 3rd week he needs a 75 or so just to gain cash. So yep, definitely a guy that I'm kind of almost glad that I don't have, because the point is that Zach Reed hopefully scores over him, can catch up what Jordan Dawson failed to do. And then outside of that, no one else really matters. Ted Closey, sub again. He's just going to have really low scores. Also low cash generation because he's getting the sub half the time. And he came on and scored a 22 in 14% time on ground for SuperCoach, but only a 19 in 14% for fantasy. So, yep, just annoying that he just doesn't get the game time needed, as he's a good player, too good for VFL, but just can't break in full time into the Geelong Best 22. But anyway, that is the video there. Hopefully me stitching up the video in part. You probably would have seen that about halfway through the video, stitching it together. Hopefully that works out for you guys. But if you guys did enjoy that video, remember to like and subscribe, turn the notification bell on so you know when I upload. If you are listening on Spotify, give me a follow and a rating over there, and I'll see you guys back for the Saturday video as well. Bye guys.